Are you a business owner or entrepreneur and you're looking to become a business owner or entrepreneur and you would like to build a successful brand? Where today I'm going to talk to you about three key things that you need to do in order to build and protect your brand.
That me though. That me though. I ain't got no problem with what you do. I'ma do me though. Yeah. I like chains on top of my chains for real, but that's me though.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to live sessions with me, Timothy Flemming Jr. Thank you all for tuning in today. Look, I want you to do me a favor because these sessions, we give a lot of great content, a lot of great information. So do me one favor before we jump right in. I want you to partner with me and help me grow this channel, help me grow this podcast here. So go ahead and hit like and hit share so that other people can also be a part of it, and subscribe. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel because again, I want you to help me grow this channel so I can get this word out and help more and more people, more people. That's my mission. To just inform as many people as possible, and it's all for the glory of God. Amen. So again, help me to grow this channel and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already done so. So let's dive in at this time. Again, there are a lot of people kind of get confused when we talk about a brand. What is a brand? A brand is more than just a fancy looking website or colors or logo, and I've worked with people, like I said, going on over 10 years now, and I've helped a lot of entrepreneurs, not just writing books, but also developing a brand look, and even developing a brand message. All of that goes into it. But essentially what a brand is really, a brand is just a reputation. Is what you're known for. Even if you're not a business owner, you have a brand, believe it or not. For example, if you're the kind of person that like to go around gossiping on everybody, you got a brand. When people see you coming, they like, uh-oh, here comes Sally, the gossiper. That's your brand. That's what you're known for, So a brand is just what you're known for, plain and simple. All of us have a brand. We're all known for something. We have a reputation. When I would work with a lot of my book publishing clients, one of the things that I would always inform them of and tell them is, you are the brand, not your book. You are. You're the brand. The book is just an extension of yourself. But really what they are paying for you, not merely the book, but you. The information that's in here, that's what's in here. They're paying for you, and you have to learn how to present yourself as the brand. So I would always tell people, in just a little helpful advice, that if you have a book coming out, rather than creating a website and titling it after your book, no, use your own name as the title or the name of the website, because you may have future books that are coming out, and if you name it after this book, then what's going to happen when you come out with a new book? You got to change the domain name all over again, So understand, you're the brand. You're the brand. And you want to make sure that you invest into building your personal brand. Now, when a lot of people think about branding, they only think about major companies like, Coca-Cola and Pepsi and, IKEA. Maybe I'm thinking about furniture or something. I don't know why IKEA came to my head, but, they're thinking about some big brand, some major brand. But believe it or not, but as a small business owner or as an independent contractor, as a consultant or a coach, as a entrepreneur, you are also a brand. And you don't have to have tens of millions of dollars like some big company, to go and hire brand specialists and brand managers and marketers. And no, you are a brand in and of yourself. And people know you for the work that you do, what you do, what service you as an independent, as a small business, as an entrepreneur, what you offer. So it's very important that you build and protect your brand. And that's what I want to talk to you about on today, about 3 things that you need to do in order to both build and protect your brand. So the first thing is I want to kind of draw from my own experience. And one of the things that I'm probably, making a habit of doing now whenever I do these podcasts is using myself. I'm just, taking me and throwing me out there. Lord have mercy, But one of the things I, like to do is draw from my experience, because I can really talk more about what I've experienced and what I've gone through more than somebody else. But one of the things that I experienced is when I first started my business back in 2013, one of the key mistakes that I made, and this was a critical mistake, and I'm going to show you how it was a big mistake, was I started it out the wrong way. I learned later on throughout the years that the proper way to start your business is you start with your exit plan in mind. Start with your exit plan in mind first. Now, I know this may sound crazy to some people. Start with an exit plan. No, I love what I do. I will never exit this. I will die doing it. And I didn't say start with intentions on exiting. I said start with an exit plan. An exit plan. And some people, well, let me kind of explain what that means, what an exit plan means. When I say start with an exit plan in mind, I mean sit back and actually think about your business that you are building. And I want you to creatively piece together in your head, how can I construct this business in a way that it actually runs without me being involved? I mean, that's what I mean when I say start with an exit plan, a plan for you to exit so that you don't have to be involved in order for the business to function and run. So when I first started out, I didn't start with an exit plan in mind. And one of the reasons why a lot of people don't do this is because it requires us to use one very valuable, super important resource that most of us, we don't like to use, and we've actually been trained not to use. That resource is your brain. You see, to sit back and actually think of all of the key pieces, all of the key components, all of the positions, to sit back and think about the full operation and how the whole flow and structure needs to go, and to how it needs to function with you not being involved. When you remove yourself from it, how can things flow? That requires a level of creativity. And when you're being creative, you are burning calories. Thinking actually does burn calories. And a lot of people, they just don't want to sit back and burn calories trying to think of that. So they just kind of hunker down and get comfortable and just doing the day-to-day operations and just going with the flow. And eventually what starts out as a business turns into a job for them. And if you're doing just a regular job, then, you probably got better chances of just going back to a regular job than just creating a job for yourself where you don't have a guaranteed paycheck. So one of the things that you need to do is you need to start with an exit plan in mind. In other words, you need to structure your business in a way that it actually functions without you. You need to sit back and visualize what that looks like. who would need to be in place, what key pieces would need to be in place in order for this to be successful, for it to be successful without me involved. There's a book that's out, and I haven't read this book, but I've been hearing about it most of my life. But there's a book that's out, and like I say, even though I haven't read the book, I definitely agree with the gist of the title, what the author is conveying just through the title in and of itself, the promise that is conveyed through the title. And the title of this book, many of us have heard of it, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And the promise that is conveyed in that title is this: if you actually use your brain, you will increase your wealth. Wealth creation is the byproduct of creativity. That when we take the time to burn energy and actually think and be creative and come up with creative ways of doing things, we will find wealth exploding in our lives. The path to wealth is creativity, using that one supercomputer that God gave us, our brains. And that's the one thing that we're trained out of, believe it or not. We're taught to just do the complete opposite, conform. In other words, conformity is when you don't actually use your brain, but instead you just look around to find what everyone else is doing and just slip into a mode of doing just that. And so for a lot of people, they have a bad example. They have bad examples around them. They are around people who are running their businesses like it's just a regular job. And so they begin to do the same exact thing. But the reality is this: when you're putting together a business plan at the very beginning, before you launch anything, you need to really sit back and creatively think about the whole structure and flow of that business and think about, well, how can I set this thing up so that it can run without me? I'm not saying that I don't intend to run it, but I want it to be set up and structured so that if I ever need to remove myself, it can continue to flow and operate. And when it's structured that way, that's when I can have it set up where I can remove myself and take a week-long, 2-week-long, month-long vacation and don't have to worry that everything is getting ready to fall apart because I'm not there. I've seen people, and I've actually been in this boat. I will never forget years ago when I was the administrator at my dad's church, just operating in that capacity. And I never forget, I went to Las Vegas. My wife and I, we went to Las Vegas. It was really for a poetry convention, but we were just staying down there for the week. My first time in Las Vegas. I mean, you heard about this place, but never been. And so my wife and I, we're there and we're just enjoying. But the whole time I was there, I'm getting calls from the office, and it was almost like I was still at work. I'm like, my goodness, I'm hundreds of thousands of miles away, but I'm technically still at work. I'm still in the office because almost every few minutes my phone is ringing. And it's like, well, nothing can run unless I'm right there doing it, And that's really not where any of us want to be. We don't want to set things up where everything revolves around us. And that's the reason why when we talk about different types of businesses, there are different types of businesses. And even if you start out with a certain type of business, you can always kind of morph over time into a different structure and plan that enables you to create different types of products that can sell without you being the one to sell them, without you being the one that has to sit there and do all of the deliverables and handle all of those tasks and responsibilities and all of that kind of other stuff. So those are things that you want to look at. And the most important thing, like I say, is you want to sit down and be very creative and think about how can I structure this business in a way that it actually runs without me being there, because I don't want to just create another job for myself and tie myself down. I'm only one person with so many hours in a day and only so much energy. And when everything revolves around you, you will find yourself in Burnoutville. You will find yourself in Burnoutville. It may not be after year 1, or year 2, or year 3, or year 4, or year 5, but give it maybe 10 years or less than that, and you will find yourself going from here to and it just feel like burnout. Why? Because you know why that term burnout, why that is relevant? Burnout, it means that you have expended all of your energy and exhausted yourself. You're exhausted because of your own business model. You didn't take the time out early to figure out how to automate, systemize, and automate things so that it runs without you. You didn't do that work early, and therefore everything depends on you. And because you're a limited resource, you're one person with a limited amount of energy and a limited amount of time, well, when you start to break down, that business is going to also start to break down, and that's not where you want to be. Another reason why you want to make sure that you start with your exit plan in mind is because when you start with your exit plan in mind, you will also develop the type of pricing that is required and needed for you to be able to hire all of the appropriate people to fill in the different positions that are needed for the business to function without you. So when you think about it, and like I say, when I first started out, I just started out, hey, I enjoy writing and publishing books. This is something that I love to do. It's something that I'm good at. It's something that I've been doing for many, many years, since high school, publishing the school magazine, writing editor of that. And so this is something that I'm used to, I can do this in my sleep. Yeah, I can do it in my sleep. But, if you get too much work and too many projects and you're just one person trying to meet all these deadlines, that leads to burnout. And if the pricing is set up in such a way that you cannot hire help, then you're definitely on the road to burnout. And so the mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make, is that they start out thinking only about themselves, and they go into this very dangerous area of trying to compete with businesses on the basis of pricing. Very dangerous. Don't do that. I'm not saying that, you can try to compete with some big company with hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever. But what I am saying is you don't want pricing to become the number one tool that you use to try to attract customers to you. That's a very dangerous thing, because in order to play that game, you have to keep lowering your costs and looking at what the next person charges and say, I can charge less than that. But the more you reduce the amount of money that you charge, the least likely you are to be able to hire help, because you're not charging enough to be able to afford help. And so that's the dangerous game. So when a lot of people, they get into this, well, you know what? I know so-and-so charged $800, but I'll do it for $200. Well, how in the world do you expect to be able to hire help with $200? You can't even pay and get gas and a Happy Meal with $200 nowadays, let alone hire someone. So that's where people make that critical mistake, is when they are starting out, they didn't think about all of the positions, because they didn't sit down and do all of the research and homework and really map out, all right, for this type of business to run, I have to have this, I have to have an accountant, I have to have an assistant, I have to have a graphic artist guy, I have to have this kind of person, I have to have this specialist and that specialist. And in order for me to have this person, their fee would normally be around this. This is the going rate, market rate for this one. This is the market rate for that one. This is the market rate for this one. So that means each month I need to bring in this amount of money. In fact, each week I need to bring in this amount of money for me to pay this person, that person, that person, and that person. And so therefore, and that's just paying them. That ain't even including paying myself. So what a lot of people do is, again, they make this big mistake of not looking at all of the positions that are needed for the business to run without them involved. And just because you're not involved in the daily operations of it, don't mean that you're not supposed to benefit from it. You had to start it up. Your blood, sweat, and tears and hard work and your investment of time and energy and money. So you have a right to reap the fruits of your labor. But look at all of the components that are involved there. And then based on all of that data, all of that information, that's when you begin to now generate pricing. You look at pricing because you're pricing not for you. You're pricing for a staff. You're pricing for a team. You're pricing for other workers, whether they be employees, salaried or contracted workers, or freelancers, or whatever the case. You're pricing based on the help that you actually need in order to keep things functioning and flowing smoothly. Because you understand that if you don't have help, you will absorb all of the responsibility and find yourself burnt out in less than 5 years, if you make it that long. So you want to make sure, again, like I said, you start with the exit plan, and the exit plan will determine what your pricing should be. And you never try to compete based on lower prices, because you need to have a good quality price that will enable you to hire specialists. Because what people are really looking for, they're not looking for the cheapest price, they're looking for the best quality. And that's the important thing, that people are not looking for the lowest price, they're looking for the best quality. Or let me say it this way, the people that you want to work with are the kind that are not looking for the lowest price, but are instead working for the best quality. You see, when you keep your prices at a premium rate where it can afford you and to hire others, and when I say hire others, I'm talking about specialists, not floaters that just do a little bit of this and do a little bit of that, and they charge you a cheap amount of money because, they're a jack of all trades. And I've been down that boat where I've hired freelancers, and some of them, I ended up having to do all of the work over myself, because I'm like, that was a waste of time and a waste of money. And when you're losing time, that means the customers are getting ticked off because this person isn't doing the job that you paid them to do, or they're not doing it quick enough. So now you got to stop what you're doing to try to take over what they are supposed to be doing, but are not doing it. So you don't want to get bogged down and hiring the wrong people. Trust me, been there, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You want to hire specialists. But the thing about specialists is this. Generally, for a person that is a specialist in a certain field, a niche, or area, they're going to charge more than a floater would. They're going to charge more than a jack of all trades. They're going to charge more than the average person. But they are charging more because they are specialists in that area, which means that's all they do. Therefore, they can guarantee top quality. And so if you're hiring a specialist, you're hiring someone who's going to get the job done at the highest level of quality. And that's what you're looking for. That's what you need. You want to provide top quality, not just quantity, but quality, because that's what people are ultimately paying for, or at least that's the kind of people that you should be looking for. The ones that are looking for quality, not cheapness. And I'll say one thing about cheapness here, because if, for example, if I were to go to Walmart and I need a new vacuum cleaner. But all I got is $5 in my bank account. But I need, and you know, a vacuum cleaner is going to be like $200 and up. And I go in there and I spend all of this time calling one of the store representatives, asking a ton of questions about this vacuum and all of that stuff. And, you know, they spending all this time helping me answering questions. And I'm just sitting there, you know, and then I go to the counter and and when I get to the counter, you know, they ring it up and they're like, oh, okay, that'll be $349, Mr. Flemming. Or they won't know my name, but that'll be $349. And I'm like, well, all I got is $5 in my account. Can y'all work with me? Can y'all lower the price? You know, I don't know. Can y'all help a brother out? They're going to look at me and be like, are you serious? Did you just walk up in here and waste our time knowing you couldn't afford our service to begin with? You got to be crazy, right? That's the kind of response I would get. In fact, that's the kind of response I would expect to get. So the reality is this, is if there's a person that cannot afford your service, you want to weed them out early. They already know that your ticket or your price tag or what have you, the rate for your services, you know, that, hey, I start at $1,000 or I start at $1,500 or I start at this or I started at $200 or I start at $500 or they already know. So if they are coming to you to begin with and they know that they cannot afford your services or whatever it is that you're offering, then that's not the kind of person that you want to work with to begin with. You know, I discovered something very interesting in the different types of customers. There are some customers that I've worked with, they were multi-millionaires, and when I would write a book for them, they never asked about a price. That's the crazy thing. That the money was not an issue. They, you know, I was sending them a bill for like $6,000 or $7,000, and then 10 minutes later, I'm looking at my PayPal team, like, whoa, I got 7,000. Well, you know, PayPal gonna take some money out. So I got 6,000 some dollars, you know, some $100. I'm like, whoa, that took less than 5 minutes. You know, and those individuals, those type of clients, all they want is quality and quickness. They want you to be able to do it fast and in top quality. So those kind of clients, you know, I worked with several of those clients. And then I worked with a lot of clients who their first and main question and issue was all about money. You know, oh, that's that much money. Where can I just do this instead? You write the book and publish the book, and then I just pay you from book sales and royalties. Well, I don't know about that because I don't know your book gonna sell. I don't know how resourceful you are, and if you're willing to get out there and do the work. You know, and I've been in that position. I remember I was working for a record company before I launched out doing my own business. And, you know, in the record company business, some people don't understand why, you know, the artists may get paid a dime off of every dollar. Like, that ain't fair. You know, the company, they making all this money, and the artist, they the one that's the performer. They should be making the bulk of the money. But they didn't put up any money to produce the project. The company did. You know, the company had to spend $150 an hour just for studio time. Oh, and by the way, it take at least between 5 to 10 hours just to produce one track. And you got 10 tracks. So you do the math on that. And that's just the studio time. That's not including the fee for the band, for the backup singers, and all of those individuals and all of that other stuff. So you're coming out of pocket tens of thousands of dollars just for studio time, you know, just to make sure that it's recorded and the mastering, the mixing, and all of that stuff is done. We ain't even talking about the manufacturing of the actual project itself. And I know this is a little old school because it's back in the 90s and early 2000s when I was doing this. But Hey, now you got to go and get the raw materials. You got to get the jewel cases. You got to get the CDs. You got to get the inserts. You got to pay the graphic artist to create the cover for the inserts. You got to have people there to sit there and assemble each and every CD. In the end, you got to shrink wrap them, and you got to sit there and do all of that work. And when you think about how much it costs for thousands of CDs, thousands of jewel cases, thousands of inserts, how much it costs for the ink that you got to use to be able to print the inserts, and even the CDs, the ink that you got to pay for to burn the image on the disc. I mean, all of that stuff, by the time you look up, you've easily come out the pocket. And this is on the low end, easily come out the pocket around $50,000. And we ain't even really talking about the marketing yet. We ain't even talking about the marketing yet. So a lot of people don't understand that artists, they didn't put up anything. They just simply stood in front of a microphone and opened their mouths. But it was the company that put up nearly $50,000 to $100,000. And if they don't make that money back, they're in the red, losing money. So people can't understand that. And so when people would come to me and they would be like, look, can you just publish? I'm like, nope, you don't want to be in that boat, because I'm going to take all the money. I'm going to give you a dime off of every dollar, but you don't want to be in that boat. And then, like I say, on top of that, we don't even know if this is going to sell or not. And that's why major book publishers, they will invest millions of dollars in promoting Stephen King's work, but they'll barely put $1,000 into marketing and promoting some unknown artist or author's book, because they don't know that book is going to sell. So they're not going to invest the kind of money in marketing and promoting that person's book like they would into promoting Tom Clancy or Stephen King's, or, some well-known author. So those are just a little, a few things that a lot of people don't really think about. But I would always encounter people, and they're always looking for a way to try to bring the cost down. And normally what I discovered is those type of individuals you just don't want to work with. Now, there's something psychologically, for whatever reason, and I'm sure you probably heard this before, but people who tend to spend the least also complain the most. People who tend to spend the most, they offer less complaints. And it's something about the psychology and the mentality of different individuals. People who are wealthy and rich, they tend not to spend or complain about things, but instead they, for whatever reason, seem to be a lot easier. So that's a whole nother talk for a whole nother day, and we can kind of dive into the psychology of that. However, getting back to my point that I made is you don't want to start driving your prices down and start competing on that scale. Rather than drive your price down, just simply raise your value up. Raise your value up, because the type of client that you want to work with is the type of person that values quality over price. Not saying that your price can be outrageous, but you want the type of person who is more concerned about quality and timeliness than someone who is more concerned about, how cheap is this gun? Can you knock off at least a couple of $100? That ain't, because when you start doing that, driving that price down, now you're getting into the area where they are trying to burn you out, because they don't want you to be able to hire help. They want you to simply do everything. And you can do that when you're the only person getting paid. But when it's a team that's required to fulfill a project, to complete each project, that means you're thinking about more than just you. And therefore, more than just you is involved in that project, and more than just you have to get paid. Oh, the whole team got to get paid. So you don't want people to bag you into a corner where now you're burning yourself out for their own convenience. So don't drive your price down. Raise your quality up. Raise your quality by hiring better quality people, and then advertising the quality of those results. letting people know that these are the type of results that I can get for you. Yes, it's going to cost you, but if results are what you're looking for in top quality, then here's what you're looking for. I'm your answer. I'm your solution. So don't get into that place of, again, trying to compete on the level of driving down prices and in hopes that, well, maybe I'm priced. Because, one thing, and I mean, it really did shock the mess out of me when I actually started raising my prices. And it's funny because the Holy Spirit was actually speaking. God is actually your business coach. You believe that or not. He'll confirm things through other people. And that's actually how it happened with me. I kept seeing in my head. I'm like, the number just kept burning. 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. And that was what I was supposed to be charging. Prior to that, I was charging a couple of $100, like $1,000, and I was getting a lot of work. I mean, I'm working like crazy, man. Morning, noon, and night, sitting there with the laptop, and I'm sitting here knocking out book after book, project after project, and I'm sitting here doing the designs myself and the formatting. I'm doing all of the work myself. I'm doing the paperwork. I'm doing all of the negotiations and all of the stuff for the pricing and all of that. I'm handling all of this stuff. And, I mean, like I say, it was enjoyable until I got to a burnout phase. But the Holy Spirit started speaking to me, and I knew it was God speaking to me. And I just kept seeing this number in my head, just seeing the number 3,000, just seeing the number 3,000. And finally, a prophetess, she was, this was back when Clubhouse used to be a popular thing. And she was on Clubhouse one day, and she just started really speaking prophetically to me, random, like, whoa, I'm getting called out. And she was like, God is speaking and saying that your prices are getting ready to change. They're getting ready to change. And I remember reaching out to her and doing a consultation with her because she was also a coach. And she got on the phone with me, and she had another gentleman on the phone also who was in the same industry that I was in. And when the gentleman got on there and he shared with me his prices, I was like, whoa. He looked at my prices and laughed and said, oh, you got a good hot charity there. I said, this ain't a charity, this is my business. He said, if that's your business, then why are you not charging the actual rate that people in your industry should and normally do charge? You're cutting yourself way too low. You're losing too much money. You're losing too much because you want to keep prices low to accommodate people within a certain bracket. But the reality is you're giving top quality, but at the expense of burning yourself out because you're the one doing everything. You have to hire people that operate on your same level. So if you're hiring people that literally take the time, like, for example, when I'm designing a cover and I'm extracting someone's picture from some other photograph, like, I have to sit down and make sure that even every strand of hair, like, I look at that kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to see any kind of border around the person's body. If they have like a hue on their skin because they had a green background, we need to fix the coloration. We need to airbrush everything, every strand of hair. You don't have to go and erase it. You just need to get the right type of eraser and go through each and every piece or section of their hair to extract it. So, I mean, I'm like super meticulous. And that's just me. That's just me. I got to make sure that the image looks perfect. I mean, from the coloration to the contrast to every part of it that's been extracted, everything. Like, I can't just do something sloppy. I'm sorry, I've never tried to do sloppy work because it just ain't a part of my personality. I just, there's a little bit of that perfectionism there as well, but I've learned to not be a perfectionist, but instead to be a person of excellence. But it's just something, that's in my nature. It's got to be done right. If I'm going to do it, it's got to be done right. So I will take hours just working on a picture, an image, before even developing the cover around the image. And thinking about everything from the type of font to the color scheme to whether or not this font should be 3D or 2D or have a shadow behind it or should be emboldened. I mean, every little bitty small meticulous detail. And so to hire people that specialize, well, that just means you have to charge the appropriate money, because you're not going to get that with a fly-by-night floater freelancer somewhere. Trust me, you'll just simply be losing money and losing time. So that's one of the things that I discovered and I learned is that, well, no, you don't try to lower your prices to accommodate people. And here's the crazy thing right about this, because oftentimes people will say, well, I can't afford it. That's not actually the case. Anything that a person really wants, they can afford. Trust me, broke people, they go and they will pay for $100,000 college tuition. And you be like, hold up, you flat broke. How in the world you get 100 G's to pay for college? And they be like, hey, I wanted it, I borrowed it. And you be like, hold up, I thought you ain't have any money or no resources that you could pull on to get money. Apparently you do, when it comes down to something that you really want. So the people that you want to work with are the people who actually need your service. Those are the people who are looking for quality. Those are the people who are not trying to haggle with the price and all of that, to try to get you to drive down the price. Why? Because they recognize and understand it. And it's not even something for them to recognize or understand, but what they are looking for are the top quality results that they see you advertising. And they are like, I just want that. I just want the results. And so that's what you want to focus on. You don't want to lower your prices. You want to up your value. And whatever up your value looks like. I mean, I've seen, different entrepreneurs. I studied and read, books and looked at others and how they would do things. And some of them, they would either add something in to up the value or just, like I say, focus on quality or whatever. Whatever the case is, you want to, again, not lower your price, but increase your value. The value of whatever it is that you're offering, you want to increase that value. Now, increasing your value does not mean adding a whole bunch of extra stuff with it. Like, all right, if you sign up and publish a book with me, I'm going to give you a free course, and I'm going to give you a free PDF, and I'm going to give you a free book, and you also going to get 6 months of coaching. And by the way, you're going to, that's not what that means. When we talk about upping the value of your offer, we're not talking about just adding a whole bunch of other stuff, because really all the person is looking for is the result. So the quality, the outcome. How do I increase the value? I increase the value by really emphasizing the outcome of what they are looking for and what they are getting. This is what they ultimately want. I discovered something, and I'll stop with this, but I discovered that people, when it comes to pain, people, they price is in the background. It means nothing when people are in more pain. I'll share this example with you. Just the other week, those that know me, I got 2 little dogs, 2 little Yorkies. I've always had dogs, but, I got these 2 little Yorkshire Terriers. One of them is named Michael and the other's named Prince. I didn't name them, my kids did. Michael and Prince, they are 2 celebrity dogs. And they couldn't be as different as night and day. Michael is super outgoing and just all over the place. Prince is very quiet and kind of reserved and shy. And, they're just two totally different dogs, but both of them, they are the epitome of cuteness. So I'm just going to say that now. But Prince, the other day, he was chewing on something and it got stuck in his throat and he was choking. And I jumped in my car, grabbed him, jumped in my car, and I broke every speeding law to get down the road to the animal hospital. And when I got there, thankfully, because they got that thing out of him, he was turning blue in the face. And I could hear him, he was having a hard time breathing. And so after that, it was like, okay, that'll be $300 and some dollars. I mean, I paid for it, and I didn't, in fact, I didn't even ask about the cost when I came through the door. I handed Prince over to them. They immediately took him, rushed him into the back, and they got the stuff out of him, and he ended up throwing up some more, and they, gave him some antibiotic or whatever. And it was like, all I could think about at that moment is I just want my dog well. That's all. I ain't even asked about a price. All I knew was, y'all save my dog. That's all, And when they quoted the price, to me, that wasn't even important. The only thing that was important was that my little furry friend here is that he's okay, and that he is perfectly fine. So when people are in pain and they have distress and things of that nature, I mean, if you go to a person and they just get married and they are lovey-dovey and blah, 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 and you come and tell them that, hey, I have a coaching program for relationships that help save marriages, to save your marriage, they'll look at you like, no, thank you. But if about 15 years later, that same couple, they can't look at each other without getting into an argument, and they're on the verge of getting a divorce, and here they are in the divorce. They are on their way to the divorce court, which will be at least starting point $20,000 out of the pocket expense, just, attorney fees and all of that other stuff. And that ain't even including dividing of assets and the loss of friends and loss of family and loss of reputation, bad credit, all of the other stuff that falls under the divorce. And when you look at that price tag that's into the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, or for some people the millions that they are on the verge of losing, and you come to them and say, I have a coaching business that saves marriages and prevents them from going to the divorce court, is only $5,000 to sign up. Trust me, at that point, they'll be like, hey, 5G's, hey, whatever it costs to save this marriage, because I don't want the person that I love booed up with some other person and my kids looking at somebody else calling them daddy or something. Yeah. So, hey, I'll pay because right now I got pain and I want to get this problem fixed and resolved. So that's a whole nother issue in and of itself, is just learning how to really deal with understanding value. What is valuable to that person? What are they really looking for? What are they really after? What is their goal? What are their dreams? What is the thing that keeps them up at night? Just really looking at those things and being able to understand your client. So that's all of that is a part of what I talk about when we talk about raising value. It's not merely about adding a bunch of other junk on, because people aren't interested in a whole bunch of extra junk add-ons and this and that. No, they are the real value is the quality of life that they are looking for. So I'll stop right there again. Like I say, with protecting your brand, you want to make sure that you are starting with your exit plan in mind first. From there, you're pricing your services or what have you, so that it could finally accommodate an actual team of a team of specialists. There we go. Accommodate a team of specialists, and also making sure that you, rather than lower your pricing, you raise your value. So those are the three key things about protecting your brand. And when I say protecting your brand, I mean safeguarding yourself so that you don't end up in burnoutville. And when you're burned out, then your performance and everything else begins to suffer, and the whole business begins to fall apart, and customers are upset and all kind of other stuff. Why? Because you're doing too much and you done burned yourself out. So I've been there, done that, and I'm talking from experience, and that's why I'm sharing with you this little bit of knowledge and wisdom here. So again, thank you all for tuning in today. Look, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about today's talk, today's live session. If this was helpful to you or not, or whatever, I want to read and hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you have to say. So go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section. And again, don't forget, if you haven't done so already, subscribe and help me grow this channel and help me get this podcast out to more and more people. And by the way, also, while we're talking about valuable things, if you haven't done so already, check out the description section. I have some free resources that you can check out. If you're a writer, I have an awesome resource for you, a free course on the 4 most asked questions about writing a book. And also, if you're writing a book and you need some direct help, you need that one-on-one help to really help you put that book together, to help you organize your thoughts, your ideas, and write a compelling manuscript that is addictive to readers. And not just go to that point, but also go beyond to help you in the marketing of the book, to help show you what to do in order to market the book for maximum sales, even to become a bestseller. Well, check out in the description below a new service that we just offered called Self-Publishing School. Self-Publishing School. And if you're a writer, you're going to definitely love this. So we have that also. And if you're in coaching, I have a resource for you as well, entitled The #1 Secret to Getting More Clients and Selling More Books. So I want you to go ahead and click on the link in the description below, and I will see you in the next live session.